Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is crunch time, opening day of MLB, and here we are, a couple absolute lunatics, a couple legitimate degenerate psychopaths coming at you with NBA knowledge. Right? This is a two gamer, TJ.
Two measly, lonesome games. They're back to back. So we actually are waiting on some huge news that it could not possibly be more important. And it's not until the game that starts 2.5 hours after lock.
That's so absurd.
So this feels like an old school Christmas Day slate where it's like there's no late swap.
Yeah.
And where there wasn't late swap yet. And so it's just like all the games are staggered throughout the day and you just have to hope you get the injury news right, because when your lineup is set, it's set.
Man, that's brutal. Okay, well, I'm intrigued about what the injury news is, and what you are going to do about it. How's baseball going for you, man?
An injury while nude is one of the worst types of injuries.
You don't want nude injury. It's a fact. You don't want it. How's baseball treating you, man? We got opening day, things happening.
Decent. Looks like I'm going to about break even. My MMEs are about I'll lose a little bit of money today. My MMEs went well, about going to break even, and then my main lineup, one of the pitchers just got hurt in like the second or third inning, so that was kind of it for that. But in terms of the process, it went pretty well, and so that's why I'm kind of happy, even though I'm not going to be making any money on it.
Okay, and when you MME, like I know today, look, your pitcher got hurt, that kind of throws things out of whack. Is your general process just try to stay afloat until you bank one, like until you hit one? Is that kind of the goal? Because the goal is to win, right? It's not to min cash.
Yes, but usually, yes. The difference kind of is right now is I've been playing a lot more on DraftKings lately. I've won all of my money on Fanduel. That's where I've primarily played for the last five years. Few six-figure paydays there, and so I have like big limits on the contests I can enter. And on DraftKings, I've barely played there before, so I have like none. And so I'm MMEing in the 50-cent contests right now for NBA and MLB, and I don't know if it'll be the case for MLB, but for NBA, I've been winning that one like once every week or two. So the week or two is probably an exaggeration. Once every 2.5 weeks, and so that's been going pretty well with that way.
Very nice. So I'm glad you mentioned you've been winning a whole bunch of money over on FanDuel over the last few years, because, my friend, I didn't have the tweet. I didn't have the read pulled up. It's late. I'm trash. Because, my friend, you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 on our sponsor site, FanDuel. Conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts. Because in Massachusetts, you get the offer. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Good things happening there on our sponsor site. TJ, I want to talk about this slate, but I want to admit something to you first, and it's a little bit out there. I was looking at NBA future odds, and I have a bet for who's going to win the championship that I think we should all put $10 on.
All right, I'm excited. I want to hear it, and since it's the theme of admitting things, since you're going to give the people such a good bet here, I'm going to admit what I shared with you off screen before we started out as well.
Okay, good. That's actually more notable, really. That's the most important thing. New Orleans to win it all. That's the bet. New Orleans to win it all. The odds are insane. If you look at point differential, they're like the fourth best team in the West. They have Zion that could be coming back. They're actually a legitimately good team, missing a star player. If they get him back at those odds are ridiculous. The odds are not right.
What are the odds?
It's like plus 240,000 or something. Is that even a legitimate number? Yeah.
I don't know, but that sounds pretty darn good to me.
It's plus 24,000. Sorry, plus 24,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. What I will admit to the people is, it's been known, we've been talking trash to each other for a while, about who is better at basketball.
Because one of us
And
has played every single day of their life for roughly 34 years, and that's me. So one of us has legit bragging rights.
So that was true also for the first about 27 and a half years of my life. And that's why I was feeling very confident as well. And, you know, over the last year, I admit I don't think I when I started talking the trash, I think it was definitely the case. It'd have been easy. But now I may need some comeback season because at this moment, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I've put on weight. I'm out of shape since the first time I got COVID. I can't even do any run anywhere anymore. So I feel like I'd put up a battle to 3, and then after that, it would just be going.
So you got to come back. Like, I'm 10 years older than you, so you got to get comeback season going. Because like I cannot bounce back. My trajectory is only going down. You can still right the ship here, my man.
It'll happen. It's no at this moment I'm not liking my odds, but maybe Super Bowl RotoGrinders party February 2024 might have to be the goal date, and I'll start working out.
We got to make it happen. I'm in on that. All right, hey, we have dilly-dallied enough. We have shenaniganed enough, or maybe we haven't. I don't know. It's a 2-game slate. Maybe we need to do more. But I do believe, my friend, we should give the people some winners. Let's start on Fanduel. And let's kind of walk through a build.
All right, let's do it. Starting here on our Spencer Fanduel. Neither of us can say words today. It's a late show, second show of the day. We're not ready for this, but that's all right. We'll lock it in. Even though our language, our English may not be there, our words may not be there, our DFS analysis is still going to be. So starting over here on Fanduel, the biggest thing we got to worry about from the get-go is we have a 12.2K Nikola Jokic who is questionable. We have no idea if he's going to play. This is 2.5 hours after the first game. This is a true back-to-back. What do we do with Nikola Jokic? We're obviously not playing him from a cash game perspective, but also it's a 2-game slate. Don't be playing cash games tonight. If you're going to be playing at all, make sure it's tournaments. There are some high prize pools tonight, so I don't blame you for playing tournaments whatsoever. I am throwing in a single entry team tonight, but definitely don't play cash games on this 2-game slate. And if you are, you're not playing Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray, as you can see, is currently Noto's only core play here on Fanduel. This is the first player you're putting into your lineups. If I was running 150, I'd probably have him in all of them today just because it's a 2-game slate. If Nikola Jokic is out, he is so by far the best play on the slate. It's not even close. And then if Nikola Jokic is in, he's still a really good play and one of the better plays for a 2-game slate. If we sort here by RotoGrinders value, he's actually the best RotoGrinders value on the slate, and that's with Nikola Jokic in. And so he would be 50, 60% owned. Even if we knew Jokic was in, he would deserve that. And if Jokic happens to be out, he is just so far and away a better play than everybody else. This is where we kind of run into a crossroads, because on a 2-game slate on Fanduel, like if we know Jokic is going to be out, you want to have 3 to 4 Denver players on every single one of your teams, and in your single entry and cash game team, because this is a 2-game slate, you're going to want to go all 4 Denver spots that you can use. Because we don't know that news, it gets a little bit difficult, but I think anyways, we just basically, you play this like Nikola Jokic is out. Yeah. And the reason you play this like Nikola Jokic is out is because if he is in, well, it's still a 2-game slate and you probably could be fine. You could still cash. You can adjust things around and end up with a team of guys that are going to play 20 to 30 minutes and you can still min cash your lineup. If Jokic is out, you will not have a possibility of cashing if you don't play this like he's out. If you're not loading up on Denver and he happens to be out, you have 0 chance of winning. Yeah. If he is in and you load up on Denver, well, you still have a chance of winning. And so I think you basically have to Play this like he's out, especially because if you're doing like a cash game type setting or a single entry type setting and you're like, hey, I'm choosing one of these big spend up guys. I don't think you have to. I think you can go balance build. I don't think you got to play Tatum, Giannis, or Jokic. But if you are and say like, I want to get Giannis in my lineup, well, say Jokic gets ruled in. If Giannis outscores Jokic, you're still fine. If Giannis outscores Jokic, you still probably ended up with a better lineup. And that's basically a 50-50 toss-up anyways. So play this one like Jokic is out. Jamal Murray is the first person you're putting in. I'm not going to use the term cash games because you shouldn't play them. I'm going to say optimal. Optimally speaking, Jamal Murray is the first guy you're plugging in. Bruce Brown is somebody that'll get extended minutes, but is a solid value plays. He's better on DraftKings, but he's still fine here on FanDuel to use at the guard position for value. But your second point guard position, optimally speaking, is basically either CJ McCollum, or Malcolm Brogdon, or Marcus Smart. Basically, those three are the three you're choosing between on FanDuel. If you can pay up for McCollum, and that's basically you're doing the mid-range build, you're probably fading Giannis. Then you're going with McCollum in that spot. If not, then you're probably going with somebody like a Malcolm Brogdon. Drew Holiday is also somebody that if you land on, and if you're not doing Giannis, I think I'm totally fine with that, optimally speaking. You want to go the mid-range build. I think it makes a lot of sense to use Drew Holiday coming off one of the biggest surprise, randomly huge games of the season.
Yeah,
20 for 30, 58 and 8. 72.6 fantasy points on FanDuel. So if you want to go the mid-range route and just pop in Drew Holiday at your point guard position and then use McConnell with the shooting guard, I think that's totally fine as well. Then here at there's a lot of players who have shooting guards, small forward eligibility. If you're choosing one of McConnell and Ingram, I prefer Ingram over McCollum. But if you're doing a kind of planning Jokic to be out and you want to stack up that last game anyways, I think it's fine to play both on a 2-game slate. Bruce Brown's basically a must for optimal lineups. Michael Porter Jr. is basically a must for optimal lineups. My favorite tournament play on the entire slate is Jaylen Brown, sub 20% ownership, coming in he's been basically on par with Jason Tatum over this last month or so. He's $1,600 cheaper, and neither of them are picking up any ownership at all. Tatum's picking up a little bit more over on FanDuel, and so I like getting to Jaylen Brown a lot for tournaments because he fits that mid-range build perfectly. And once we get over to these power forwards and center positions, there is somebody I really like pairing him with for tournaments as well. Giannis, if you want to spend up and force him in, I don't think that's a problem, especially if you're doing it with all of the Denver value. But just know if you are doing that with all the Denver value and Jokic gets ruled in, you're probably going to be screwed. Of these three big spend ups, though, of Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, I would prioritize Giannis of those three if I'm playing one of them.
So that's real quick. That's the way that you can kind of F yourself. And it's not even that it's necessarily the wrong play, but if you play Giannis in the first game and then play that value, assuming Jokic is going to be out, if he is suddenly in, then the value over there in Denver means nothing, and there's nothing you can do about it at that point, really.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, though, is if you're running something optimally, you're doing this in a bunch of small field stuff, some quintuple ups, triple ups, and some single entries, and you're putting in Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and Bruce Brown into your lineup. Mm-hmm. All four of these guys, and all four should go in your lineups, optimally speaking, if you are playing a cash game today. All four of them are probably fine if Jokic plays. They're not as ideal, but they're probably fine. It's just the guys if you want to play Giannis and take a shot today on a Zeke Naji or a Thomas Bryant, who we don't even have projected, but will get some minutes if Jokic doesn't play. That's where that could be like a tournament style winning contrarian lineup. Mm-hmm. But if Jokic is in, that's where you're screwed. It's optimally speaking, though, you don't really have to worry about it because I think you don't go the Giannis route. And this even works in tournaments if you play a guy like Jaylen Brown in the mid tier. But if your highest spend ups are say like Brown and Brandon Ingram, all of a sudden you're looking with some really nice positions here. If you don't want to go that high, you can go with some guys like a CJ McCollum and a Drew Holiday if you're fading Giannis. at $7,400. Oh, shoot. McCollum went into the wrong spot. At $7,400. Then I plug in McCollum here as well. I got lots of high upside players. Murray, Holiday, McCollum, all 50-point upside. Porter and Gordon are probably 30-point-ish guys, even if Jokic plays. And you still got 6K remaining per position. So either of those routes, I think, are totally fine and leave you in a good position if Giannis plays. Or sorry,
Gotcha.
if Jokic plays.
Gotcha.
The last guy I want to touch on for tournaments, though, at the center position, the Boston guys are fine. Horford and Rob Williams, both of them are fine. Rob Williams we'll talk about a lot more on DraftKings. We have him listed as questionable, and we probably got that news while I was talking, so that's something I should look at, actually, because Robert Williams has been listed as questionable throughout the day. And I haven't actually seen that news come out on him. Peyton Pritchard, heel, ruled out. Grant Williams, available to play. I think I'm pretty sure Rob is just fine here, and I must have missed that news from earlier. And so both of these Boston bigs are fine. But my favorite for tournaments is going to be Brook Lopez. I think a Jaylen Brown, Brook Lopez mini stack of that first game, I think that's going to be what wins tournaments. Jonas Valanciunas is somebody that's getting almost 40% projected ownership right now. If Jokic doesn't play, they're probably going to have to go small, and Jonas isn't going to end up being on the court for that many minutes, and he's not going to have that big of a game. And at big ownership, if you go with somebody like Lopez instead, and Lopez outscores JV, you could be in for a very big night.
Very nice. Okay, good point. Can I see you do a build here? You've got 4 nuggies in right now. Do a build assuming that Jokic is out. You've got those 4 guys in. Is there like another super cheap guy that you would plug in next? Like just a Dallas build. Just a Denver build. I don't need the whole thing.
So you only can play a maximum of 4 players on FanDuel, so you would have to choose one of these to omit. And if you are doing that, you're probably looking at a guy like a Zeke Naji at 4K. Jeff Green you could maybe use in tournaments. If you land on you want to use Caldwell Pope instead of Bruce Brown, I think that's fine. But basically, like from Pope up, all of them are going to get minutes anyways. And it's the guys like Jeff Green, Zeke Naji, or Thomas Bryant you would only ever play if Jokic is out.
Okay, excellent. Let's talk DK. I have no idea if anything's different. It's clearly the same overall situation, but maybe there's some pricing differences that are notable for you.
Yeah, there is a bit better of value over here. You look at Noto's core plays. He's got CJ McCollum at 7,500, much cheaper price tag over here. I do honestly still think you want to use both McCollum and Jamal Murray. I think these are 2 guys that are must to put in from an optimal lineup perspective. 2 point guards you immediately want to get into your lineup. Both in the late game, both fine, even if Jokic plays. But then looking at this from a guard perspective, other guards that we could go to outside of McCollum and Murray, I love Jaylen Brown here. He's nice and cheap. To me, he is a core play today on DraftKings, where he's only $8,600. Bruce Brown is cheaper as well. So he's a strong play. Derek White, also cheaper here on FanDuel. And so something like choosing one of White or Smart, both at 40% ownership. I think you're choosing one of them at the shooting guard position. I think you're choosing Bruce Brown I guess you're probably wanting to due to time reasons, you probably want to put Jaylen Brown at the small forward position and then Bruce Brown at that forward position there. And I think this is how you basically want to start all of your optimal lineups here today on DraftKings. And then once we pivot over to the small forward and power forward position, Brandon Ingram at 8,900 is a spend up I like quite a bit. It's easier to get Giannis if you want to play Giannis. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I don't think it's optimal today. I don't think there's enough value where I would want to do it in my one single lineup. He's not in my one single lineup. But I don't think he's a bad play by any means. I personally just really like the Jaylen Brown, and like I mentioned earlier, Brooke Lopez route is a mini stack. These Boston bigs are also a lot cheaper over here on DraftKings. Rob Williams at $4,100 is going to be chalking somebody you're probably putting in cash games today just because he's got such a high upside at only $4,100. But my favorite tournaments play on the slate, like I mentioned, Brooke Lopez, 7K, only 13% ownership on a 2-game slate. That's just crazy. If anybody's playing somebody in this range, they're going to be going to Jonas Valanciunas. And I love Brooke Lopez as the tournament pivot today.
Okay, good stuff. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the game theory, what we can do here. And I'm wondering if Jokic gets ruled in, is he going to come in at like a minuscule ownership because everyone's already locked in or preparing for the pivots?
On FanDuel, it's going to be next to none. On DraftKings, it'll be a little bit higher. We have him projected for 33% right now. It would probably be 50, 60% if we knew he was in already. I don't think that's going to be the case at 33. I don't think it's going to be that high. Mm-hmm. I like that's just kind of one of the things with projected ownership is like his projection goes into the projected ownership, and he's projected really well. And so his projected ownership goes up too. But I don't think he's actually going to be up that high. People will have the roster spots to adjust. I'm just not sure if they're necessarily going to have the salary to adjust because we don't really have all that much value to get up to him anyways. And so, yes, Jokic becomes very viable in tournaments and like nothing wrong with playing him whatsoever if he's in.
But so not a crazy idea to have a set of lineups that you're doing kind of your way, which is assume he's out, and then maybe have one lineup where you assume he's in. And if he's out, then you're kind of screwed, like you said. But you do have that chance of getting one of the best players on the slate lower owned. Is that crazy?
No, not crazy at all. And I mean, say you play him in your base lineup right now. Nikola Jokic. Oh, sorry, I just took them out. So if I have Jokic in here and I use a player like, for example, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as my next player in there, that is a total salary of $16K. Well, if I need to make a pivot because, oh darn, Jokic is out in that setting, I can, and assuming I have him at the utility position, there's still enough players in these 2 games that it's pretty easy to find a $16K salary to match. You got guys like Brandon Ingram. You got guys like CJ McCollum, spend ups in that same game that you can utilize. And especially if you do something like Jokic and somebody really cheap, like say Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson maybe would have been a better example at 3.9K. You say you have Jokic and Josh Richardson, and then Jokic is out. You can make a pivot to something like a Brandon Ingram and an Aaron Gordon for around the same price, and it's not going to be leaving tons of salary on the table. 2 guys I do want to mention for tournaments that I think are very viable and potentially very interesting. One, Josh Richardson, who I just talked about, 3.9K. He's not going to have a crazy ceiling, but let's remember it's a 2-game slate. And we look at these last few games of his, always at 20 minutes or over. He's always getting right around 15 to 20 fantasy points. That could be enough on this slate. 5X might be great on this slate. So I think he's a fantastic value that's going underlooked. And then if Jokic is out, I don't think I really want to play him if Jokic is in, but if Jokic is out, Larry Nance Jr., I think, is a really great value play today because this game is going to be going smaller and faster, and Jonas Valanciunas isn't going to be able to keep up. And so going to somebody like Larry Nance, if Jokic is out, I think is a very great tournament play.
Okay, good stuff. Good thoughts. I like it. I feel like on these 2-game slates, you can literally break down every possibility. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel good about where I'm at now. All right, let's see if we got any QQs coming in. If not, we're going to end this show a little bit early, but let's see what we got. DKGPP from D-Rock. If Jokic is in, would you rather Bruce Brown or Herb Jones?
Bruce Brown or Bruce Brown?
Beaner says FanDuel Cash, Giannis or Tatum? I'm sorry, FanDuel GPP and Cash. Giannis or Tatum?
Giannis.
That might be like almost every question. Flying Armbar says, do either of these teams, any of these teams except the Pelicans, play for anything? I think so.
Yeah. Boston has 76ers on their heels. They're only 3 games behind Milwaukee. And they're obviously playing each other right now. So in theory, Boston could still catch up to Milwaukee for the 1 seed. And then Denver, like if they kept losing, I think in theory, Memphis could catch up to them.
Yeah. All right. Those are all the questions, TJ. Is there anything else you want to do, or we can bounce a couple minutes early here before lock?
Yeah, I feel like that would just be devastating if we got Nikola Jokic news like in the next 2 minutes and we weren't on.
Yeah, we might get fired if that happens.
Yeah, but there isn't anything yet. Normal starters for Boston, normal starters for the Bucks here. I just kind of will reiterate for tournaments. If Jokic is out, I love the idea of taking shots on Zeke Naji and Thomas Bryant, as well as Larry Nance and Josh Richardson on the other side of this game. You can make.
I love the Nance. The Nance idea is so smart. Like that, he would get more run. Like I feel like that's next level.
The smaller the slate, like the way I kind of look at slates is the bigger the slate, the more I rely on projections and optimizers. The smaller the slate, the more I just rely on my basketball brain. Yeah. Because it's like, all right, well, how it's like a showdown slate for NBA, for NFL. How do I think this game is going to go? How do I think it's going to play? On a 10-game slate, you analyze every single one of those games. You're going to over analyze it to hell. Your brain's going to go crazy. You're going to forget the good plays you thought about earlier. Just trust the projections. Find 1 or 2 brain plays that you maybe really like. But on a slate like this, you can really just break it down from you shouldn't just allow projections to build your lineup, especially in a tournament on a 2-game slate. You need your lineup to tell a story. You need your lineup to go, okay, if this game blows out, these are the players that are going to get minutes. So I need to play them with the other players in that game who will get minutes in a blowout. If this one stays close, it's going to be these players that correlate well together. That's what I want. So people are always choosing between Jason Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo today. That's one of the reasons why my 2 favorites are Jaylen Brown and Brook Lopez. Just stay with that mid-range build. You play Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, and Brook Lopez, not Tatum or Giannis. You're still getting tons of upside with those players. If Tatum or Giannis fail, it directly correlates with those guys succeeding.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the way I want to look at my lineups today.
Yeah, I love it. I love envisioning a game script. I do it like you said, NFL, when I'm doing the showdown slates. It's like, what is the game script that I'm going to make up in my head, and how will that build, play out? And you're right. I feel like on a 2-game slate, you can kind of do that. So hopefully everybody here at home has their game script ready to go for how these 2 games are going to play out.
For what it's worth, I didn't even realize my single entry lineup on DraftKings right now actually does have Giannis in it right now. So that's a pretty big gamble, all things considering. I got some ugly value from that Denver game. I just did a small one with the crowns on DraftKings because they had some good contests. But I think I'm just going to leave it and let it ride and just hope Jokic is out.
I like it. I'm down with that. Mike says, hey, how's the weather for MLB tomorrow, Roth? I don't know. I literally trying to never look a day ahead. I will let you know very, very early tomorrow morning. I know the weather itself sucks, but there's only a few games tomorrow. So hopefully they're in good places and we can avoid the severe weather outbreak that's going to happen tomorrow. With that, we're quickly coming up on lock. Derek Scott, I don't know. Did you look at baseball at all for the night slate, TJ, by chance?
I will pull it up right now. I did not, but it's not going to take long to pull up on this is what I love about baseball in comparison to football and basketball is baseball. I can just look at it and immediately be like, that's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I don't, just based on the numbers and the ownership. On basketball, you got so many things you got to look into. Yeah. So, game in Oakland just pitched beautifully in the World Baseball Classic. Definitely Ohtani is number 1. That is chalk I would want to eat on DraftKings, 9,500. And then my SP2, Castillo is going to be the chalky one. I think I would likely here go with Julio Arias would probably be my favorite SP2. And then if I was going to take a shot in tournaments, I would either go Gallen or Kyle Mueller.
Very good.
Kyle Mueller in tournaments actually is at 5,700. That might be my favorite. Let's build a little baseball team here quick. Sorry, Rob. You got to go. We can go. Okay, yeah. That's the pitchers I want to go with. 2 guys in the same game. Oakland is a great park. That's probably what I would do, and I'd spend up on bats.
Okay, excellent stuff. With that, we have given you the basketball, the baseball, and the admission that I would dominate TJ in hoops. We're going to bounce. So for TJ and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.